Hello, my loves, and welcome to Seeking Zenith Rising Consciousness, where we like to explore ideas and solutions on how to carry humanity into higher realms of existence. I'm your host, Amber, and this is my daughter, Kaya. Hi. Today's topic, we will be exploring the damages of unconscious procreation or careless procreation and how to avoid bringing more lost souls into the world. We were trying to think of what would be the best topic for this kind of show to kind of set off the tone, and I was like, well, we should really just take it back to the beginning and what is causing just feeling lost in this world as it is. And I think that minds are expanding at such an exponential rate right now, and we're all waking up to the damages of what we went through in the traumas of our childhood and why that made us who we are today, and why it's so important to explore a lot of those past traumas so that we can heal it and then live the healthiest lives possible.
And familial bonds are the most important thing to a human psyche. I mean, we're built on sociability and community, being around others, and when you don't have family to look to and to be comforted by, I mean, what are you gonna do? You're lost. And it does depend, because there are families that are genuinely not good for you, and you should absolutely distance yourself. But in most cases, especially in our modern day of people cutting off a lot of their family, they should be sticking together. People will be breaking up over very minor things that should not be getting in the way of their relationships. And I find it especially important because maybe they view their parents a certain way because of the way they were raised. And we'll especially talk about this, but if we look at my childhood, I was raised in a very, very highly attentive type of relationship. I mean, anytime I had some sort of a need, my mom was there. I was always with her. I was always wrapped up, in, what is it?
I carried you with me everywhere. I always had a baby carrier, no matter what I was doing. If I was in the garden, watering plants, doing dishes, housework, wherever, outside exploring, I would take her with me because I wanted her to have a tactile experience without actually doing it herself, but
right,
so that she could see the potential of what she would be able to do someday.
The order and the routine of what it's like in the household and in the world. And I was also saying hi to people at a very young age. I was walking and moving. I mean, pretty much when I first came out of the womb, my eyes were wide open, and
we did a home birth.
Yeah. She definitely made that a very nurturing experience for me as a baby.
I did a lot of research into attachment parenting, and home birth was one of the tactics that you use on top of carrying your child with you everywhere. And it was amazing. It was the best decision I ever made. But yeah, that is why we're trying to catch you in a phase of prevention. We're trying to catch you before you bring these unwanted children into the world, because we are so incredibly sensitive as souls, and whether some of us want to admit it or not, these traumas get buried so deeply, and then they become subconscious, and they seep out in every single action that you take in your life, no matter what you do. And so that is why you see so many videos today of people talking about problems with narcissism and avoidant personality disorders.
We know all about that.
People with bipolar disorders and psychopathy and all of these different mental disorders, they all come from the same place: traumas in childhood.
Yes.
End of story, period. So no matter who you are, what you do, if you are in a relationship and you are coming from a place of pain, you have to do your soul work. You have to do your healing work.
We kind of think about, well, what might have influenced that type of behavior. And I mean, pretty much any sort of generation. Let's think about it in your time, right? The 90s, the 80s. The family dynamics back at that time were a lot different than now. Right now, we're suffering with the gentle parenting, not your parenting style. It's basically where a parent kind of just lets their kid do whatever they want and they approve of everything that they do, and they don't give them any sort of discipline or lesson to be taught. And I'm not talking about beating your kids, I'm talking about like
discipline, healthy discipline,
yeah, like conversation, talking it out.
There has to be consequences,
right,
to every, and you'll see it in your school, right? You're always telling me how a lot of these kids think that they can do whatever they want and get away with anything that they want because the teachers don't discipline anymore. They don't know how to discipline. The parents get upset when they discipline. So you just have all of these brats running around.
Yeah, the most that these kids will get from a teacher is maybe a referral, but that's after the first 5 times that they told them to put their phone away, which is crazy that students are even allowed to have their phones on them in the classroom.
It is. It's crazy because their attention spans are crap. She's 15, right? And she's still around kids who don't even know how to read hardly.
Right.
Like, that's sad.
Even my English one.
Yeah. She's an advanced English, by the way.
And I've noticed he's actually been quite the stutterer when reading. And it's totally fine if you stutter when you read, but I can't tell if he does it as like a character thing or if he does it, but literally every time he reads something, it's very slow. There's no emotion. He doesn't read like he actually understands what's happening, and just like he has the other paper in his hand, like there's just answers on the sheet. Mm-hmm. So it's crazy that it's even reaching young teachers now too. And not just students. I think that's absolutely crazy.
Right. And look, I'm not here to say, oh my God, I was such a perfect mom and you guys should do exactly what I did. But I know what worked for us, and I also know what didn't work for me in my childhood and all of the traumas that I went through that caused me so much pain and caused me to make so many horrible, like unnecessary mistakes in who I chose for different partners, like men that I dated, why I was choosing them, why I was trying to pair with, men who had similar trauma bonds as me that were just basically running me to the ground, right?
Right, yeah.
And what you're gonna get with most people who go through a childhood that was similar to mine, where you're dealing with parents who are just constantly breaking up and getting back together, and they're dealing with drug issues, and they're dealing with their own traumas from their childhood that who knows where it came from, World War II or whatever, we're going to talk about that in a second. But like what ends up happening is that children usually repeat those same toxic patterns that they were raised in without actually realizing it. So I could have easily become an alcoholic. I could have easily become a drug addict, or
right,
a whore sleeping with everybody just to look for some sense of love in order to deal with a lot of the pain. But I dug deep, and I'm a very particular kind of individual, and I think I have a very strong spirit, and so thank God I was able to overcome all of that. But not everybody has the luxury of that kind of spiritual tenacity.
Right.
There's
like 2 different people when they go through trauma. There's the people who either repeat that trauma or stand still and don't do anything to heal themselves or their past. Mm-hmm. And then there's the other ones that get so fired up after all the traumatic experiences that they had that they kind of just aspire to be the best that they can and to be better than what happened to them,
And sometimes to their detriment, overachievers. I went through that phase too for a little while.
The overachiever phase, yeah.
So why did it get to be so toxic?
Well,
at least for the leading generations from, my childhood, like the 80s and 90s, what were we dealing with?
Yeah, if we're talking about like the newer trauma generation, World War II was definitely, I think, a really big part of that. Because, okay, we already had men who had a lot of trauma already and who had these certain ideas put into their head for many, many decades. But especially after World War II, they had a lot of PTSD after coming home from the war. I mean, they were seeing their friends getting killed, people that they trusted, men in the war, they were all dying. And You know, sometimes even their own homes were getting bombed, so they were losing their family sometimes. So they'd be coming home with the depression carrying with them after seeing so much gruesome things. And they kind of got this motivation, not only from any of the people around them, but also themselves, to kind of build something happy or something nice. They wanted to build a family. They wanted to have children. They wanted to have a beautiful wife who would take care of them. So they ended up building this for themselves, but they didn't end up healing the mental
PTSD.
Yeah, they didn't end up healing all of that, and so they carried it with them into their family, and they would take it out on their wives and on their kids.
And they created those same PTSD traumas.
Right. And it was a lot cheaper for them to do it back then too, because the Great Depression had just come around. So the house prices were all the way down. Like, I think a house back then was like $2,900 at one point, which would have been like $30,000 for us now. So it was crazy low to have a house and to take care of a family. So that just boosted up their ability to take advantage of the low inflation. But because of this, it ended up scarring these children.
Well, yeah, because we were still brought up in that children should be seen and not heard kind of an energy. And that carried over into the 80s with parents who were still trying to explore those like 60s ideals of freedom and free love and recreational sex and all of this stuff. And they were still kind of trying to reconcile what that meant. And so they wanted to have those experiences, but they still wanted to have families, right?
Right.
And so it was just still like this toxic mess of child rearing back in that day. And carry that into today, and that's why we're having this male loneliness epidemic, right? Because all of the women now, we've already woken up to all of this. Like, we all know this.
Right.
And so that's why we're taking a step back, because like we're waiting for these kind of older generation men, I would say maybe 35 and older, to continue to do their work and wake up. Your generation's not going to have as much of a problem with it. You know, young 20-somethings of today are coming out of it more and more. But you're still seeing this old, toxic, mental, like this patriarchal illness,
right,
in these older generations of men who are probably going to end up alone, sadly. And they already are.
Yeah, it's pretty much a cranberry stain stuck in their white shirt that is a little difficult to get out, you know what I mean? Even having conversations with people my age, men, you can still tell that they suffer from it, but
you see it everywhere.
Yeah, it's not
so prevalent. Like it's very real. And that was kind of our little pebble that we're tossing into the water, a little ripple effect that we want to create with this show, is that how can we explore ideas on how to prevent creating this mess, you know, so that we can just have a better world. And it's sad because these men want to be loved.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you've got these men who's like, they're so toxic, but then they keep coming back to you over and over and over again. And you're just like, you're a terrible leader and you don't know what you're doing. You know? Like, put your dusty away and don't bring your toxic seed into the next generation. We don't need it.
Because they know you're right. They know you're right. And that's why they come back. It doesn't matter how angry they get at what you say. They know you're right. And they don't like that you're right.
If you have any doubt in your mind whether or not you should bring children into this world, just don't. Don't do it. We don't need any more lost souls being thrown into this world. It's too much of a struggle. And I know that I'm going to piss a lot of people off by saying that, because believe me, I come from family who's like, every soul is a blessing. Thank God for every soul. But it's like, these lost souls are doing so much damage.
Yeah.
In their wake of mess and, you know, asleepness.
Right.
So I guess that's the preventative measure here that we're trying to touch upon, is like, close your legs, please. Okay? Learn to control your hormones. Both of you, men and women. Women are already waking up. Like, I think they're a little bit stronger in how to control their sex drives than men sometimes. But, you know, men who are intelligent, you can do it too. Like, I don't know, go take some yoga, learn how to meditate, go spend some time with some monks somewhere.
Go take up a hobby, you guys. Please. Learn how to sew or something. I don't know. Just anything except trying to pick up girls on Hinge. Like, it's really sad.
Yeah, well, the proper parenting style, I would say, is you have to be able to be in a position that is so selfless.
Yeah.
That every step of the way, you're prepared to put all of your focus and energy into your child, because what are you trying to do? You're trying to imprint, right?
Right.
You are trying to put everything that you know into them so that they can carry that same energy forward into the next generation. That's what it's all about, right? So that your essence and your soul can live on through them. And so that means communication is incredibly important. That's why women are the mothers. That's where we are the primary caretakers, right? We were created to do that. That's why our prefrontal cortex is larger than men's, because we are the main communicators. We tend to be just better thought leaders in general, you know, as a result of that, because we're the ones raising the babies and teaching. Not that men aren't a part of that. You absolutely are. But, you know, both sides have to be more conscious in how much time they're spending with their children. We have to move away from how we were parenting before, which was, oh my God, I have to rush to my 9-to-5 job and like throw my kids and my toddlers in daycare and they'll do all the work and the schools will bring up my kids and we're just gonna feed them macaroni and cheese at home because it's fast or whatever. No, like...
Or hire some Hispanic granny to take care of them.
Yeah, or nanny in general. Like, no, then don't have kids. It's a complete waste of time to do that. New world, we want to see ourselves in a position where we can grow our own food. We can raise our own children now. Like with the advent of AI, useless souls, I'm sorry to say this, but you're not going to be needed anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need you to run factories, or we're not even going to need accountants soon. Like there's so many jobs that are going to be taken away from, I don't know how else to say this, but useless human beings. That's also why I think it is so important that people cut back on procreation right now. You already are.
Right.
You already are. We're already seeing it everywhere. The stats and studies are already out there. People are not having children today the way they used to.
Not only because of money, but like also just because we realize how much damage it really does to the world having this population.
Much damage. Yeah.
The only issue about having AI replace everyone's jobs, though, is that
I'm not saying woohoo celebrate AI or anything right now. I'm just saying this is where we're headed. But yeah, didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
AI is honestly kind of dumb. I think we can kind of acknowledge that. It's only really built off of what we tell it and what we've kind of educated it on. That does not mean it's going to be smart. In fact, half the time with certain prompts, it is not really filling up what you're asking it to, and it doesn't.
It's going to
certain.
It doesn't. You're right, especially creativity, but it's going to fulfill our basic human needs. It already is.
Mm-hmm.
That puts more of an emphasis and pressure on you to be the most incredible human being you can possibly be. And you can't do that if you're in constant survival mode, trying to figure out how to pay the bills and live in a world where like your parents have completely abandoned you and you're dealing with all of these trauma wounds of being abused. Like you don't have the mental capacity or space and time to dig deep into who you are and what you can offer this world. And we need souls who can bring their creativity into the world, their uniqueness. That is going to be the main focus in the Aquarian age, right? What can you offer? What can you do? What do you love to do? So that's when I think AI is going to fill in all of the little gaps of the things that take us away from fulfilling our creative purpose.
Right.
Does that make sense? Is that resonating?
Yes and no, because a part of me still sees how that might kind of go wrong. Okay, you can laugh at me.
No, please say it.
I just feel like if we as humans make AI even do those little things, we might forget how to do that as well. Like, what if one day the whole internet shuts off? What if we don't have any access to robots? None of them work anymore.
No, and I want to explore this in another episode for sure. Like, I want it to be all about AI and what we have to be careful of versus how can we use it to our benefit, right? That is an incredible topic. Maybe that can be the next episode.
I would say to everyone if we had a megaphone.
Cherish life. Learn to cherish yourself, your soul, and other people's souls. Do not take that for granted. Don't think that it's meaningless. We are all here for a reason.
Right.
But I promise you, you're not going to get a chance to explore that if you're carelessly making decisions along the way, bringing kids in the world that you don't give a shit about.
And don't take what everyone says for exactly what you should do. Please just come up with your own opinion. Don't listen to what's written word for word inside of literature. Don't take word for word exactly what other people tell you to do. Make your own decision, right? But don't be careless about it. Think about it clearly and concisely, all right?
Intuition. We'll explore how important it is to develop your intuition in another episode.
Right.
Because intuition is God.
Relationships as we know it is not going to be doomed, obviously. There is a lot of hope. I mean,
There's
she
just a
said
pause.
it before. It's just, we're kind of trying to figure things out, both the sexes. They're trying to kind of maneuver how they go through things, what to drop and what to leave.
What are our places? We're exploring the masculine feminine dynamics more now than we ever have.
And even though there's some children right now that aren't really being taught the most proper parenting, that does not mean that there won't be some that they're just going to blow your mind away and that won't give you hope in this world. You know?
Yeah.
There's a lot of really smart kids. You can't lose hope in them.
There's no rules to being a good parent. There really aren't. You just have to know how to find that depth of love in yourself. That's really all it is, and pulling that out and putting as much love, focus, and care into your child as you possibly can. Even if that means loving in a life where love wasn't always given back to you. Human beings were created out from love by God. That's who we are. That's what we're here to experience on this planet. That's our main purpose. And if you don't put your soul in a position to both experience that and give it, what are you here for? Right? There's no point. We've already seen how millionaires and billionaires are completely empty and miserable. It's not about gaining more power, more money, more whatever, materialism, A, B, C, and D, this, that, and the third. It's just love. That's all there is. Love is creativity, right? Fear is the opposite of love. When you come at life and parenthood from a place of fear, that's destructive behavior. That's when things start to fall apart. That is when in relationships, if you're coming from a place of fear, you're going to be the avoidant. You're going to constantly put on the brakes and put yourself in a place of the void, the destruction, the darkness, the nothingness. You cannot create from lies. You can only create from love, period. We'll see you next week, and this concludes our first official episode.